I thought I'd share with you also a good story. A company, a client of ours in Philippines that they implemented actually as a part of the digital transformation initiative, a bunch of projects with our tools, and it really paid off for them. So the company, the subject company is Aboitiz. I can never pronounce it properly. This is a Philippines-based company. It's a big holding. They have around 50 companies under their group. They are listed in Forbes, publicly traded in Philippines, and 8.5 billion in assets and a few thousand people working for them. They're quite focused on doing good in the society. Their CSR initiative is quite strong, and they have a number of projects and hundreds of volunteers and employees that are quite focused on their CSR initiatives. But they had a problem. They started growing, and they dealt with a number of projects, probably 200 projects actually, that they started in a small scale with pen and paper, Excel sheets, you know, the usual scenario, and it started becoming very difficult to stay on top of the project and understand what's happening and keep the efficiency at the center. And so they went out scouting for a system, for a solution, and they actually did a proper research. So they had unique requirements for every project, and they were relying on IT heavily. This is a very common case that I see in a lot of organizations where everything you want to do, you have to call the IT, first convince them, probably a couple of meetings, steering committees, and approvals and budget. By the time the IT says yes, you either have moved on from that business objective, or you've lost a lot of time, or the requirements have changed. So again, back to the square one. And IT also gets frustrated. They are in charge of a lot of important things, and sometimes they cannot be bothered with tiny requests here and there. And they were tracking a lot of books from a financial perspective, and efficiency was missing, of course. This is a quote from their CIO. We consulted many industry experts and looked at many platforms such as BPM Online, Kissflow, Appian, Pega. Zoho Creator came out very high marks in all of our decision criteria. So we were very delighted by their choice, but it also showed that they did a very good research, understood their requirement, and came up with the tool of the trade for themselves. So what is Zoho Creator? Just at a glance, very super quick overview of what Zoho Creator is. It's one of our apps, one of our 45 apps, and by itself, it is a platform that allows you to create apps, business applications, starting with dragging and dropping, because most business applications are about data forms that get data. You have input, some analysis, crunching the numbers and data, probably pushing it either to another system or in a form of a report or a dashboard or a notification. So you can automate a lot of processes. And in a lot of scenarios, you only need to drag and drop. As long as you know what you want to do, what the process is on paper, you can implement it based on Zoho Creator in a matter of days. We've tested this. We actually implemented our own team. One solution, a donation management system, web-based, with Node.js and with PHP. Picking two of the market leaders from scratch. And also did the very same thing with Creator. It was 10 times faster to develop and deploy the app with Creator, because the developer or the business analyst, here's the distinction, you don't need to be a developer. They were focused on solving the business issue, not learning how to program, debug, comment, compile, push, and all of that. So that's quite efficient, which means money and time saved. It is cross-platform. You just build it on your browser. The editor is in your browser. And you just hit publish if you work in a sandbox environment, and ta-da, you have it. You want to cut access, it's just a click of a button. You want to scale up, if today you're launching it for a small department of 10 users, and tomorrow you want to push it to 10,000 users, you just add new users. The back end takes care of everything. security, safety, compliance, everything. So, from the time they decided, and we started the project with them last year, it took them 2 months. It took us 2 months. 2 months later, we had a number of applications that started automating the processes super fast. These are the characteristics of, some of the characteristics of these apps. Budget planning for the project managers, so they could quickly create budgets and process, change the processes on the go, not going back to the IT. If we need to involve one more, person in the process of decision making, you just add that user, push, and they get added to the process that quick. Approval workflows. Workflows are an important part of any kind of business process. And that is actually, again, done with a lot of drag and drop and clicking and configuration rather than coding. So financial approvals were at the center of it. The CFO needed some special approval processes to be done, and it was done very quickly. Dashboards, to show to the decision makers, employees, even outside world, what is happening. When you have scattered Excel files here and there, even if you have databases distributed across your organization, one of the nightmares is to create one report that connects the dots for the decision makers. If you go back, and then, it happens a lot of times with a lot of printed spreadsheets, and you have 2 minutes to convince the CXO, usually it ends up in failure. You got to show them some, understandable visuals. So that was at the core to create the dashboards. And if I go back one slide, I'm not sure how visible this is. So you can see here, these dashboards are drag and drop. This becomes the environment. You edit it, you have it in the browser, and you have it practically in any kind of mobile environment. So the CEO or the CFO, they can be in a meeting accessing these reports. Goal tracking, of course, again, project management aspects, tracking and notifications, which was another important aspect. Notifications, sending reminders is a big aspect of any kind of project management. Again, with the ease of a drag and a drop. Integrations were another important point because, you're building for a company with existing software. It's not from scratch. The key application was Oracle E-Business Suite. The integration was made. And with Creator, again, it's quite easy. There are a collection of integrations out of the box available. You just need to log in, basically, and make that integration happen. Or, of course, ask the IT department to write some code connecting you via the API. All the verticals were connected and integrated. Invoicing was another issue, which was dealt very efficiently. Now they had access, all the users and also the volunteers had access to printable and electronic invoices to be shared. Multi-currency was another requirement which was handled very nicely. Reports, again, coming from multiple sources, 50 companies, and needed to connect the dots. So all of the data to be pulled on time, scheduled, and all of that. Scheduling and reminders. There are a bunch of facilities and features to make sure the scheduling and reminders are set up properly. If you want to back up, or if you want to pull data or push data on a nightly basis. I remember probably 10 years ago, Zoho Creator, by the way, is the reason I fell in love with Zoho as a platform. I was a consultant. This is 13 years ago. I was not a part of Zoho. And I built that CRM with Creator. It saved me a lot of time because our CRM was made in Germany. It looked like a cockpit of a 747. And none of the salespeople dared opening it. It was so clunky, so involved. Salespeople don't have time, So I built this tiny CRM with this thing, which was connecting to the other thing, connecting to the ad agency, to other people, and because it had to do a limited, number of things. Anyway, fast forward to a few years ago, there was a scenario in US actually. A big company was connecting. They were in the business of building manholes, and they were connecting to the largest database of parts in the world, maintained by McGraw-Hill, 1 million parts back then. So every night they had to pull a certain number of parts, hundreds of thousands of rows, inject it into their CRM for the salespeople to have an idea of what they can order or not. I had the choice of writing a code from scratch or using Creator for scheduling. Every night, just pull the data, cleanse it, push it to CRM. Something that could have probably took me 500, 600 lines, took me 30 lines. If you're interested, I still have the code. I can show it to you how it looks like. More notifications. Another very important aspect is that this is a cloud-based application. This is a cloud-based system. And by design, it is accessible. Your data is in the cloud, accessible at any given time. There are redundancies and backups. And also, Creator specifically is highly GDPR compliant. You can actually tick a box next to each field and say that this contains personal information. It gets encoded, and it is GDPR compliant. So the safety and security of information, plus the SLA of being 99.99% available, kicks in and makes you, sleep well at night. Easy deployment is another thing that the IT loved, because it's not about download the app, upload the app, push it to the app store. None of it is there. You just update the app, test it in the sandbox. If you're happy with it, push it. Everybody else just needs to refresh the page. You want to revoke access from a device, maybe it's lost or stolen, maybe the person left, just click of a button. And of course, it's cross-platform. That goes without saying, because it has to work in any platform. As long as you have a modern browser or a modern smartphone, doesn't matter what it is, you can actually access the app. The results? This is their own estimate. We didn't come up with this number. The CIO sat and estimated that they are saving $670,000 a year not buying other software or not spending IT's time on building software, which, based on Google, translates into 9.5 million brands. They centralized a lot of diversified businesses into singular centralized reports and dashboards. So the CXOs could connect the dots, what's happening in the organization. They built more than 40 apps in the span of a few months, and which managed more than 1,000 transactions a day for them. And that was a huge win for them. So they moved from pen and paper, scattered processes, the old school way of doing things, to building apps by themselves, not by Zoho team, the IT team, and the business team. They started building apps. Actually, one of our best clients, Tesla, they use Creator. And they have this back office, not where they build the cars or the autopilot, but when they the place where they automate their own internal processes, they do not have programmers. They have business analysts, this is by design, who do not program. They use low-code or no-code platforms like Zoho Creator to build apps internally and automate the business processes. So the CIO, I was so delighted when I saw members from the accounting team, from admin, from HR, who are not programmers, develop web and mobile applications with minimum help from the IT. This is enabling your own employees. Instead of hiring consultants, making the current guys irrelevant. Every company, we have an aging population. We have a population where sometimes they may not want to connect, or we think they are not connected with the advanced technology. We keep bringing the new blood, external consultants. Why not enabling and empowering our own employees? This has happened in this company. And this was actually a very delightful byproduct. We did not plan for this. The plan was to build applications for them as fast as possible, as cheap as possible. But they ended up, this is their own, by the way, wording, with a digital army of people, HR, admin, accountants, other people, who are building their own apps, deploying their own apps in their own environments. To this day, they built online parking system for themselves, inventory management, pricing approval system, car insurance, customer engagement, customer feedback, and project management. It comes really in handy when you have Zoho Creator as a part of your ecosystem in the company. Doesn't matter what kind of business you are in, we've seen that it adds a lot of value. Probably a month ago, we were in the Electricity and Water Authority of Dubai in United Arab Emirates, where our office is. And they wanted to measure, unbelievably, almost 1,000 projects a day. I said there must be a mistake. Oh, you don't have 1,000 projects a day. It's physically impossible. I mean, that's how they call it. So they have sensors and touch points across the city. When there's electricity or water cut, a project gets started, a bunch of people get involved, and they have to deploy a team to identify and fix the problem. And this triggers a lot of notifications. This is a mission critical system. They were looking for a lot of solutions, and they were either not compliant with their really stringent security compliance requirements, or it was too expensive or whatnot. And they really enjoyed seeing the demo with Zoho Creator, and they jumped on it. I can, give you a lot of other examples, but this is actually what's happening, and we're so delighted about that. Great. This was the short case study. I mean, we can talk about this in more detail. You can find me later in the stand with the team. The Cloud City team can help you and work on some requirements. But today I encourage you to actually just go on zoho.com/creator, create a test account, start building a simple contact form, an appointment making app, anything, and see how you can start building on top of this. This connects to our AI facilities, to other apps, to workflow management apps like Flow or Zapier, and you can actually expand it more and more and more. And I'll keep some of the items as a surprise. You'll find some really nifty tools available in Creator. And one last thing is that you can actually download the code and push it to App Store, white label it, and have it natively done under your own brand. You don't even need to have it on Zoho.com. In the back end, it is hosted on our servers, our data centers, which are spanning across 6 countries and all continents. But in the front, no one knows what you've done, which platform you've used. Thank you so much.